Marks and Spencer's Cool Vetiver or the Essence Vault 200 Plus. Which one to wear for my run today? They smell so similar. Yes, good morning. It is that time of the week again. It is my late shift at work today, so I want to go out for a run and do a little bit of a review. And what have I got here today? Well, I've got two fragrances here, two different but very similar fragrances at the same time. The Essence Vault 200 Plus is a clone of Creed Aventus, a well-known clone. They're not trying to hide the fact that is what the Essence Vault is as a brand. They are a clone brand. And then you've got this one here by Marks and Spencer called Cool Vetiver. And this one has been compared exactly the same to Creed Aventus. So what I'm sort of trying to do today is essentially work out which one is the better clone, which one represents Creed Aventus in the best way. Because while I say this isn't a clone, it's definitely got some nuances about it, something in it that is meant to give you that certain vibe of Creed Aventus as well. And I just kind of want to see, first of all, in a minute, how similar they are and which one does the best based on our usual 5 categories that we do on our workout. So if you haven't seen this before, we'll look at which one's the best price, which one's more versatile, if there's a slight difference in versatility for them, which one's the better projector, which one has a little bit better compliment factor about it potentially, and also its longevity, where when I finish my run, we'll just see which one smells the strongest. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly spray these ones on my arm. Cool Vetiver, the Marks and Spencer's fragrance on this arm here. And Marks and Spencer, if you don't know Marks and Spencer, if you're not familiar with the shop, it's kind of more of a food clothing shop than anything else, but mainly obviously a supermarket for food. And they have started going to that beauty line a little bit, particularly with fragrances as well. And I've got that as part of the, well, I initially smelled it as a little sample in a 2ml Discovery sample set, and I really liked it, so I ended up buying the full fragrance for about £10. Because it's gone up a bit now, I think it's about £12, it's still pretty cheap. And then the Essence Vault 200 Plus. Yeah, this one is meant to be a clone of Creed Aventus. I've recently done a review on it. They do actually have an Essence Vault 200, which is also a clone of Aventus, but they said this one is a little bit more refined, more for your fragrance enthusiasts, because it represents Creed Aventus just that bit better. And it certainly does have that vibe. If you like that smokiness in Creed Aventus, it's not too heavy on that, but it's a bit more prominent, I believe, than the original Essence Vault 200. So let's give them a smell together and let's just see how similar they are. What I would say, the main difference that you're getting, now this one here has vetiver, ginger and musk in it, so again, not noticeably particularly associated with Creed Aventus, but you are kind of getting that pineapple-y freshness. It's a bit more aquatic, a bit cleaner, I would say, than Creed Aventus. So I think it's similar, but not a straight-up clone. Whereas this one's definitely more of a straight-up clone. The pineapple is certainly prominent at the minute, but there is that slight smoky background to it. I'd say this one is a little bit sharper, this one's a little bit sweeter, and that's the main difference I'm getting, but both are definite freshies. Perfect for the summertime as well. So what we're going to do then, we're going to go out for a run, do all the categories during my work, and yeah, we'll give our overall score and overall thoughts at the end. So yeah, I'll see you out there. Oh, it is so quiet around this morning. I feel like I've got a whisper. It's bank holiday weekend, it's Saturday morning, so I think a few people are having a lie-in ahead of the long weekend excursions. But let's get on to this clone fragrances then. So we've got Cool Vetiver and we've got the Essence Vault 200 Plus, both that have been likened to Creed Aventus. So we're going to start with price slash value for money, and pardon the pun here, but in essence, the Essence Vault 200 Plus is about 2 times the price for 100ml compared to Cool Vetiver by Marks and Spencer. You can get the Marks and Spencer one for about £12 online, and the Essence Vault 200 Plus, as with all the clone fragrances on there, is £25, essentially £24.99. Do I think, first of all, they're both good value for money? Absolutely yes. Again, when we think of Creed Aventus as a fragrance anyway, it is very much that one that's got a bit of sophistication about it, but also a lot of versatility, which we'll go on to next, where it can be your signature scent. It can be used at different times of the year, night, day, dress up, dress down, because it's got a bit of that refined quality with the smokiness, and it's also got that pineapple fruitiness, which you may associate more with the summertime. Now, if I'm being honest with you, Cool Vetiver doesn't really have any of that sophistication or smokiness about it. But you're not going to expect that for something that's so cheap, to be honest. And something that's not necessarily said it is a clone. Now, they do clone dupe fragrances, so I do think they've tried to base it on that scent, but not like the Essence Vault, where they're so open, like, we want this to smell 100% the same. So if I'm saying which one smells the most like Creed Aventus, which is what we're kind of talking about here, there's no two ways about it. The Essence Vault 200 Plus definitely smells more like it. And if I'm being honest, yeah, when you smell them, you do detect that extra bit of quality. Again, when I'm talking about price here, I'm not just talking about how similar it is to that fragrance with the clone. I want something that smells of decent quality as well, not a really synthetic version. And it definitely does have that nicer, slightly sharper pineapple vibe to it, rather than that really synthetic fruitiness. And fruity notes can sometimes go in that direction. If I can smell a cheap fragrance sometimes by fruity notes in them, because they almost give off a bit of an air freshener, toilet cleaner smell when they smell a bit cheaper compared to those more expensive scents. The question I suppose you can ask yourself here is, do I think the Essence Vault 200 Plus is twice as good as Cool Vetiver, considering it's twice the price? I don't think it is. I think Cool Vetiver itself is definitely, you know, in some ways I think, yeah, it's about 5%, 10% worse, if I'm being honest. But I suppose the question we're looking at here is, does it really replicate does it really replicate Creed Aventus in the same way? Not for me, not as well. And if I'm someone who wants that scent, I want the smell of Creed Aventus, I want a little bit of quality because I'm spending a higher, you know, it replicates a higher fragrance. Yeah, Creed Aventus £200. I still think the Essence Vault here, 200 plus, gives you that better representation. But if I just wanted something for that scent vibe of feeling, you know, summery, you know, all day, every day, bit of a dumb reach scent, Cool Better would be the better choice. I'd rather get two of those, but because I wanted it to replicate Creed Aventus, I'm still buying the Essence Vault 200 plus, and for that reason it wins this round despite the higher price. Moving on to versatility then, which one do I think is more versatile when we consider dressing up, dressing down, different ages, different occasions, different seasons, all those things? But I feel like this one might be the easiest round for me today, and I'm going to already go straight into it. The winner for this one is Marks & Spencer's Cool Vetiver. But look, when I'm smelling it now, that musk and ginger in it just gives it this nice, fresh, sparkling vibe, almost a slightly more clean laundry type scent. Now, first of all, I do need to say they both lean certainly more fruity in terms of if we're comparing it to Creed Aventus. Some people have said certain formulations of Creed Aventus, certain clones, have had more smokiness, more of that birch in it than the pineapple. But in the case of these two, they definitely are more that fresh, fruity vibe. And the Cool Vetiver clone, or sorry, Cool Vetiver phrase, the Creed Aventus clone from Marks & Spencer's, is definitely slightly more aquatic, and it feels more suitable for things like the gym, you know, just throwing it in your work bag to top up as a lunch spray, and ultimately more suited to a younger person. Now, they have actually recently released an eau de parfum of this one. The one I've got is an eau de toilette, and that's marketed for women as much as it is men. And I think Creed Aventus itself, and when I'm smelling the Essence Vault fragrance, it is a bit sharper and a bit more peppery, a bit more smoky, where that one leans more masculine. And I think Cool Vetiver goes straight down the middle. It's a good entry level scent, it's a good dumb reach scent, and the fact they do different bottle sizes, and to be fair, both brands do, but Marks & Spencer's do 30 mils of this as well, so it's a good little gift idea as well if you're not sure, you know, maybe you really want to get the scent vibe of a Creed Aventus but you don't want to pay the big prices. It gives you equal versatility as much as the Essence Vault does, and for that reason, because it's a little bit more youthful, a little bit more of a dumb reach scent, and more wearable for gym situations, and just topping up through the day, it just edges this round for me. So Marks & Spencer's gets the point for versatility. Okay, let's talk projection next then. So which one am I noticing the most during my run at the minute? Well, I'm going to smell my arms very quickly where I spray the fragrances. I tell you what, it's pretty much the same for both of them. And what I'm going to say is neither of them are really strong. And to be honest, I don't think Creed Aventus is a fragrance where it is meant to be like a beast mode scent. And to be honest, at the moment, I probably have to be about 10 to 15 centimetres away from my hand before I pick it up. And I don't think anyone, unless they're in your scent bubble, are going to particularly notice this one. I think even if you're sitting in a room for a long period of time, it's not going to be really noticed. I think someone needs to be sitting next to you, you know, maybe just working at a computer next to you or something, for them to notice it. And you'd have to give it a good fair few sprays. Now, just from experience, I've done reviews of both of these. Cool Vetiver is one of those where it's synthetic, and I've had a lot of synthetic phrases in the past. One of my strongest synthetic clones I had was Cuba Prestige Classic, which I've still got, which is an Amen clone, and the opening in that is so strong. It's so much stronger than the original. But after an hour or two, it goes, because it's so synthetic. The oils don't particularly last. And from my experience of Cool Vetiver, this one is definitely a little bit louder in the opening compared to the Essence Vault 200 Plus. And I think if you're trying to get confidence in the first hour or two with this fragrance, that one's going to win in terms of projection. I think it's one where, again, because it's a little bit cheaper, I've probably oversprayed it a bit more in the past. And yeah, it just gives you that bit of extra kick, certainly when I've been in the gym, for example. Whereas the Essence 200 Plus feels like it's going to be one which we'll talk about longevity later, we'll test that later. It'll sit close to the skin, but it'll be there for longer, and it'll just, you know, people will notice it maybe 5-6 hours, you know, 5-6 hours time if they're still sitting next to you. So for that reason, I'm going to give the winner for projection here to Cool Vetiver, just because it's one that's it doesn't last much, you know, 2 hours, but if you've got it on you and you constantly respray it, I think more people are going to notice it, and it may leave a slight trail if you do overspray it, whereas I don't think the S4 200 Plus will do that. So Cool Vetiver wins this round for projection. Okay, so moving on to compliment factor, and I think there's a clear winner again for this one, so I'm going to go straight into it. The Essence Vault 200 Plus wins this round, and I think this comes down to more the depth and complexity you get from this. The Cool Vetiver Marks and Spencer's fragrance, it only gives you 3 notes. It gives you vetiver, ginger and musk. And while I expect there's some synthetic molecules in this to sort of pad the fragrance up a little bit and give that scent profile that represents the smell of Creed Aventus, I think that lack of performance that you get from this is probably in part due to the lack of depth it has. And that also means where it fades very quickly, people aren't going to notice it after an hour or two, and you're not going to really get any confidence. Only you might be able to smell it on yourself at best. Whereas the Essence Vault 200 Plus, you can tell, and they do make a big point of this on their website, they do use high quality oils, and you do feel like, even though I can't necessarily pinpoint the notes that are specifically in this, you know, you still get that pineapple and that birch as the prominent things. You can tell there are other things supporting those 2 notes in this fragrance, and that just gives it that extra depth, where again, we touched on it earlier in the versatility round, you feel like you could wear it with a suit and tie, you could wear it in more formal occasions, you could wear it to a job interview. Whereas Cool Vetiver doesn't feel like it. It almost feels like it's a stripped back, scaled back version of the Essence Vault 200 Plus, and that to me just loses a bit of quality overall, where I think people won't necessarily mention it. There's nothing memorable about it. While it's very pleasant and very easy, compliments tend to need to do something that make you stand out a little bit more. And I think the Essence Vault 200 Plus with that slightly more sharp pineapple and that smoky background, alongside the other notes that are definitely playing a part, maybe there's a couple of woody notes in this, it just makes it go to that extra level. And for that reason, I think it's going to be more likely to get you compliments in this situation. Okay, and we are coming up to just over an hour now since I applied these fragrances, so I'm going to do the longevity test now as I'm warming up and getting a little bit tired, so let's try. That's Cool Vetiver, and that's the Essence Vault 200 Plus. Well, the one positive is I can smell them both, and I can smell them both pretty well, even though I know I'm burying my nose into my arm, as you'd expect. It wouldn't potentially, you wouldn't want the fragrance, however cheap they are, to be worn off so quickly within an hour or so. But if I was giving a percentage of how strong they were compared to when I initially sprayed them, Cool Vetiver was probably 60%. The Essence Vault 200 Plus is probably 70 to 75%. It's a little bit stronger. That pineapple zest that you're getting from this, it's definitely got a bit more zest about it than I thought here. It's not as sweet. Just gives it that bit more depth, that smoky depth, where it goes more into a smoky pineapple, a citrus pineapple, a zesty pineapple. That gives a bit more bite than that kind of aquatic musky vibe that you're getting from Cool Vetiver. And I think in an hour's time, when I finish my run, I'm going to notice that a lot more. I'm going to notice that strength coming more from the Essence Vault 200 Plus. And again, from my experience, I can go from experience of trying these now. When I've had a shower, the one that's definitely stronger as I leave is the Essence Vault 200 Plus. I believe that is an eau de parfum. And obviously the Cool Vetiver is an eau de toilette, but you can now get it in eau de parfum, which I should do. You'd probably also expect that as well. And I just think overall, just from my experience of the Essence Vault, compared to the Marks and Spencers, they are more reliable, particularly when you're getting hot. I always find when I get hot at work or hot during a workout run, those Marks and Spencers one, while they can be really loud, particularly in that first hour, half an hour, you suddenly almost forget you've got them on by the end because they almost can't smell them at all. And I think if you spray these on clothing for that extra longevity, the Essence Vault 200 Plus will definitely stick in your clothing more, and I'm pretty certain it will last. You know, I think that one will drop to say 50% in an hour. I think Cool Vetiver will drop to 30-20%, and for that reason I've got to give longevity to the Essence Vault 200 Plus, and that means it has won 3 of the 5 rounds today. Very, very close one, so it's time to give my overall thoughts. Okay, and that is it for today. So as I just touched upon, the Essence Vault 200 Plus managed to win 3 of the 5 rounds, and Cool Vetiver won 2 of the 5 rounds. And I think while that means, obviously in my competition, the Essence Vault 200 Plus has won, I think it really comes down to what you want. Now, if you want a straight up clone of Creed Aventus, go for the 200 Plus, because that is exactly what the Essence Vault marketed to. And there's many other phrases. I think Club de Nuit Intense Man is another one by Armaf, which is obviously a very popular clone. There's plenty of straight up clones, and I think this one's a very good one. So if you want that, then go for it. I think this one would certainly be the better choice. It's got a bit more depth, a bit more complexity, and it just smells a little bit closer to that fragrance that it's trying to copy. But if you're someone who just wants that scent profile, you want something that has that slight fruity freshness, you know, certainly more the fruity side of Creed Aventus, and you're not too worried if it's not a straight up clone, but you can use it in those same sort of situations, a bit more of a dumb reach, and just a general entry level, maybe even as a gift. I'd go Marks and Spencers. I don't think it's different enough for me personally to go, oh yeah, I'd have to go and get the clone of it. And for someone who's not a massive lover of Creed Aventus, it doesn't particularly excite me. I'd probably rather get the Marks and Spencers 2 bottles, just for that reason. I can use it a bit more in situations like the gym, and just throw it in my bag and maybe care about it a little bit less. And yeah, it is really down to personal preference here. I think if compliments are your big thing though, again, go for the Essence Vault 200 Plus, because I do think that one will get more feedback. But for yourself, an everyday freshie, Marks and Spencer's Cool Vetiver is a very good fragrance, and I'm very happy that it's in my collection. I don't think either are redundant if you want both either. They both can do a job for you if you don't really want to go and spend 200, 300, however much Aventus is these days as well. These are pretty safe blind buys, and yeah, they're an important part of my collection, and great as the weather hopefully brightens up and warms up as well. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this one today. I hope it's given you a few ideas, a few things to consider if you're tempted to get Creed Aventus or a clone of Creed Aventus. These are 2 good places to look. But yeah, thanks for watching today. I'll catch you later.